What if a hotel you stayed at years ago suddenly called you by name? The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Daniel almost threw it away. Tucked among bills and coupons, the envelope looked like some cheap advertisement, thick, cream-colored paper with a deep crimson wax seal pressed into the flap. Nobody wrote letters anymore. Not in 2025. But his name was written across the front in dark, looping handwriting. Mr. Daniel Whitaker. Something about the ink unsettled him. It wasn't typed, wasn't neat, it was too careful, the strokes of a fountain pen. He ran his thumb across it. The ink had bled slightly into the paper, as if it had been written years ago. He cracked the seal. Inside was a single sheet, folded twice. The scent of it hit him first, old wood and faint cigar smoke, like the lobby of some antique building. The letter itself was written in the same hand as the envelope. Asterisk, Dear Mr. Whitaker. We are most pleased to welcome you back to the Ashford Hotel. Your room has been prepared for you, just as you left it. We await your arrival. With warmest regards. The staff asterisk. There was no phone number. No address. Just 3 words stamped at the bottom. The Ashford Hotel. Daniel frowned. The name stirred something faintly familiar, but slippery. Like a word you almost remember from a dream. Had he stayed there? He had traveled plenty for work in his 20s, before settling into a steady accounting job and a predictable, suburban life. But Ashford Hotel? Nothing came to mind. And yet, there was something. That night, he placed the letter on his nightstand, telling himself he'd forget about it by morning. But when he woke, the letter was gone. He searched the table, the floor, even the trash. Nothing. Only when he went to shave did he find it again, tucked behind the bathroom mirror, as though it had been slipped there while he slept. By Friday, curiosity gnawed at him. He'd Googled the Ashford Hotel. Nothing. No website, no photos, no reviews. Not even a location. Like it didn't exist. And yet the letter sat there, daring him. It was ridiculous, he knew. But Daniel wasn't exactly happy. 39 years old, divorced, no kids. His house was quiet, too quiet. Nights dragged on, and sleep came in fits. The idea of something unusual, even strange, sounded better than another week of monotony. So he packed a bag. The directions came easily, though he couldn't explain how. He drove aimlessly, letting instinct guide him. Hours blurred. Suburbs gave way to forest, forest to fog. His GPS stopped working somewhere along Route 9, the screen frozen with a red no signal. By midnight, he spotted it. The Ashford Hotel rose out of the mist like a ghost. 4 stories tall, stone and wood, with wrought iron balconies curling upward like skeletal fingers. Lanterns flickered in the fog, casting warm, golden halos across the grand entrance. Daniel parked, heart pounding. The building seemed to breathe, every window glowing faintly, as though lit from within. For the first time, he hesitated. Something about the place felt wrong. Not threatening, not exactly. Just inevitable. Like he was meant to be here. The front doors swung open. A man in a red uniform stood waiting. His skin was pale, his posture perfect, his smile polite in a way that felt rehearsed. "Welcome back, Mr. Whitaker," the man said, bowing slightly. Daniel froze. "How do you? We've been expecting you." The man gestured inside. The lobby stretched vast and elegant, mahogany floors polished to a mirror shine, chandeliers dripping with crystal. A fire roared in a stone hearth taller than Daniel. Velvet chairs lined the walls, occupied by silent guests who stared into the flames. None of them turned as he entered. The bellhop led him to the front desk, where a woman in a navy dress waited with a leather-bound ledger. She opened it before he could speak. "Room 6, just as before." "I think you're mistaken," Daniel said, forcing a laugh. "I've never stayed here before." The woman's smile didn't falter. She turned the ledger toward him. Scrawled across the yellowed page, in black fountain pen, was his own signature. Daniel Whitaker. The date beside it was 2008. Daniel's mouth went dry. He didn't remember signing it. Didn't even remember the year 2008 clearly, just a haze of long work hours, endless hotels, airports, and conference rooms. "See," the woman said gently. "You've always come back." The bellhop appeared at his side, lifting Daniel's suitcase before he could protest. "But, I didn't." "Your room is ready." The bellhop started up the staircase. Daniel hesitated, glancing back at the grand doors. They had shut silently the moment he entered. The guests by the fireplace hadn't moved. Not a single head had turned. "Mr. Whitaker," the woman prompted. Against all reason, Daniel followed the bellhop upstairs. The carpet muffled his steps, swallowing the sound. He passed doors with brass numbers, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each one looked identical. At the end of the hall, the bellhop stopped at a door marked 6. He slid a heavy iron key into the lock and opened it. "Welcome back, sir," he said again. Daniel stepped inside. The room smelled faintly of cigar smoke and old wood, the exact same scent as the letter. The bed was neatly made. A leather suitcase sat by the dresser. Not his suitcase. Another one. Dust coated the handle, but when Daniel bent closer, he froze. Stamped on the leather tag was his name. Daniel Whitaker. Daniel finds an old suitcase in his hotel room with his name on it, though it looks like it's been there for decades. Daniel's fingers trembled as he brushed the dust from the leather suitcase. His name was etched into the tag in faded gold letters, the stitching worn and cracked. It wasn't his. Couldn't be. He'd bought his current luggage 2 years ago at a department store clearance. This one was older, vintage, heavy, the kind his father used to carry on business trips. But the name was there, undeniable. Daniel Whitaker. "Is there a problem, sir?" the bellhop asked. Daniel turned sharply. The young man stood in the doorway, his face a polite mask. His eyes, though, betrayed something else, like he already knew what Daniel had found. This isn't mine," Daniel said. "I've never seen it before." The bellhop smiled faintly. "Are you certain?" "Yes, I'm certain." The silence that followed stretched too long, and the warmth of the firelight in the hallway suddenly felt suffocating. "Your stay will be comfortable," the bellhop finally said, his voice even. "If you need anything, dial 0. He set Daniel's real suitcase by the bed, then bowed and closed the door behind him. Daniel was alone. He didn't want to touch the old suitcase again, but curiosity won out. The clasps snapped open with a rusty click. Inside were neatly folded shirts, trousers, and ties, all hopelessly out of style, like something from the early 2000s. On top lay a toiletry kit, a cracked leather wallet, and a folded newspaper. Daniel's chest tightened as he read the date. June 17th, 2008. The headlines blurred, but the year seared into him. 2008, the same date that had been written beside his name in the hotel ledger. He slammed the suitcase shut. That night, sleep refused to come. The ticking of the clock on the dresser sounded too loud, too deliberate. He stared at the ceiling, watching the shadows of tree branches crawl across the plaster. At some point, he must have drifted off, because he woke with a start to the sound of footsteps. Slow, measured. Right outside his door. He held his breath, waiting for them to pass. But they didn't. They stopped. Directly in front of his room. He sat up, heart pounding. Then, 3 deliberate knocks. Knock. 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 Daniel froze. His voice came out hoarse. "Hello?" No answer. The hallway was silent again. When he finally worked up the courage to open the door, the hallway was empty. No sign of anyone. The next morning, Daniel went downstairs for coffee. The lobby smelled of smoke and polish, the same timeless scent that clung to everything here. The guests by the fireplace were still there, same positions, same expressions, as if they hadn't moved all night. At the front desk, the woman in the navy dress greeted him with a smile. "Did you sleep well, Mr. Whitaker?" He hesitated. "I had some noise outside my room." Her smile didn't fade. The Ashford can be lively at night. He frowned. "Lively? I didn't hear anyone else." Her eyes flicked toward the guests at the fireplace, then back to him. "Nevertheless, I trust you're enjoying your return. I keep telling you, I've never been here before." Something in her expression shifted. The smile faltered, only slightly. Then she reached below the counter and slid something onto the polished wood. A photograph. Daniel's stomach dropped. The photo was sepia-toned, worn at the edges. It showed the hotel lobby, looking almost identical to how it looked now, the fireplace, the chandeliers, the polished floor. A group of guests stood in front of the hearth, dressed in old-fashioned suits and dresses. And among them was him. Daniel stared, his mouth going dry. It was his face. A little younger, clean-shaven, but unmistakable. He was standing at the center of the group, smiling faintly at the camera. His hand shook as he picked it up. "What the hell is this?" "You've always been part of the Ashford family," the woman said softly. "This is fake. It has to be fake." Her gaze didn't waver. Sometimes memory fails us. But the Ashford remembers. Daniel dropped the photo as if it had burned him. He stumbled back, nearly colliding with a man in a brown suit who hadn't been there a moment ago. The man gave him a stiff nod, his eyes glazed, and walked silently toward the fire. Daniel's pulse roared in his ears. He turned toward the door, those massive, carved oak doors that had sealed shut the night before. He marched forward and grabbed the handle. Pulled with all his strength. The door didn't budge. Not even an inch. He shoved, kicked, pounded with both fists. Nothing. The guests by the fire never turned their heads. The staff at the desk watched calmly. Finally, gasping for breath, Daniel staggered back, sweat beading on his forehead. The woman at the desk tilted her head. "Going somewhere, Mr. Whitaker?" His voice cracked. "Let me out." "You'll find," she said gently, "that you never truly leave." That night, Daniel didn't sleep at all. He sat in the armchair by the window, staring out into the fog-choked woods. But something gnawed at him, deeper than fear. A memory. A faint one. Hadn't he been here before? He shook his head violently. No. It wasn't possible. He was still repeating it to himself when he heard it. A whisper. Low. Female. Right behind his ear. "You don't remember me, do you?" Daniel hears a mysterious woman whispering behind him, claiming he should remember her. Daniel spun around, his pulse hammering in his ears. The room was empty. The chair by the dresser. The bed. The window with its heavy velvet drapes. No one was there. But the voice had been so close. He swore he had felt the warmth of breath against his skin. He rubbed his face with shaking hands. He was exhausted, losing his grip. Maybe it was just his mind playing tricks. Except, when he turned back toward the window, something caught his eye. On the fogged glass, a message was traced in a delicate hand. 4 words. "Remember me this time." Daniel staggered back so hard he knocked over the armchair. His heart jackhammered, and he fumbled for the phone on the nightstand. Maybe the police. maybe anyone. But when he lifted the receiver, the only sound was a faint crackling, like static on an old radio. And beneath it, faint laughter. He slammed it down. He had to get out of this room. Out of this hotel. The bar was dimly lit, tucked just off the lobby. Amber light glowed from sconces on the paneled walls, and rows of glass bottles gleamed behind the counter. A piano tinkled softly in the corner, though Daniel saw no one playing. A woman sat alone at the bar. Dark hair, sharp cheekbones, a long black dress. Her posture was elegant but stiff, like someone waiting for an appointment that would never come. She turned as he entered. Her eyes locked on his. "There you are," she said softly, with relief. "I was starting to think you wouldn't come back." Daniel froze. Her voice. The same whisper he'd heard in his room. He approached cautiously. You're the one who whispered to you," she finished, with a small smile. "Yes. I needed to be sure you'd hear me this time." "This time?" Daniel repeated. The woman's smile faltered. She gestured to the stool beside her. "Sit. You'll draw attention if you don't." Against his better judgment, he sat. The bartender, a broad-shouldered man in a vest and bow tie, appeared as if conjured from the shadows. "The usual, Mr. Whitaker?" the bartender asked. Daniel blinked. "No, I don't even drink." The bartender's polite smile didn't falter. "Of course you do, sir." He set down a glass of amber liquid before Daniel and retreated into the dimness. Daniel pushed the drink away and turned to the woman. "Who are you?" Her eyes softened. "My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I remember you." Daniel stared at her. "I've never met you before in my life." "Yes, you have." Her tone was calm, certain. "Many times. We've spoken, laughed, even planned escapes together. But each time, you forget. The Ashford makes you forget." His mouth went dry. "That's insane." "Is it?" She leaned closer, her perfume faintly floral, oddly comforting in this suffocating place. "You've been here before. Dozens of times. Maybe hundreds. And every time, you check in, you eat, you sleep, you search for a way out. And then..." She traced a slow circle on the bar with her fingertip. "It resets. You wake up thinking you just arrived. And I'm left remembering everything." Daniel shook his head violently. No, that can't be true. I'd remember." Her gaze was pitying. "Would you?" They sat in silence for a long moment. The piano played its haunting melody. The guests in the lobby sat like statues by the fire, as if frozen in amber. Finally, Daniel whispered, "Why me? Why does it keep bringing me back?" The woman's expression darkened. "Because you chose this. Long ago." He felt a chill ripple through him. "I would never choose this." "You did." She placed her hand lightly on his. Her fingers were cold. "I don't know why. I only know what the hotel told me, that you're bound to it. That's why I tried to warn you. You can't stay 3 nights." Daniel's chest tightened. "What happens if I do?" Her eyes shifted toward the lobby, where the silent guests stared endlessly into the fire. "You become like them." Daniel followed her gaze. The hair prickled on the back of his neck. The guests. Their stillness. Their vacant eyes. "You mean?" "They're not guests anymore," she said. Her voice trembled now. "They were, once. But now, they belong to the Ashford." A sudden clang made them both jump. The bartender had dropped a glass, but his eyes were fixed on Daniel. A strange, melting smile stretched across his face. The woman grabbed Daniel's arm. "We can't talk here. Meet me tonight." Midnight. The East Wing, near the service elevator. Don't let them see you. Before Daniel could respond, she stood and walked swiftly out of the bar, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor. The bartender watched her leave, then turned his smile back to Daniel. "You always do find her," he said casually, as if commenting on the weather. Daniel's blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about." The bartender leaned in, his voice low. "Oh, but you do. Every time." That night, Daniel sat in his room, suitcase shut tight, lights dimmed. The woman's warning rang in his head. Don't stay 3 nights. He couldn't risk it. He should leave. Tonight. He grabbed his real suitcase and opened the door. The hallway stretched ahead, dimly lit, lined with closed doors. The grand staircase led down toward the lobby. But when he reached the end of the hall, his stomach turned to ice. The stairwell was gone. The hallway bent back on itself, looping endlessly. Doors repeating, numbers glowing faintly on brass plates. He walked faster. Then jogged. His breath quickened, panic rising. Door 2. Door 3. Door 4. Door 2 again. No matter how far he went, he was still on the same hallway. Finally, gasping, he stopped. His suitcase slipped from his hand. Somewhere behind him, he heard soft, deliberate footsteps. Slow. Steady. Getting closer. Daniel tries to leave but finds himself trapped in an endless looping hallway, while someone, or something, follows close behind. The footsteps drew closer, echoing against the endless hallway. Daniel's breath hitched. He turned, but the hallway behind him was swallowed in shadows, the light fixtures flickering one by one as if retreating into darkness. "Hello?" His voice cracked. "Who's there?" No answer. The footsteps stopped. Daniel backed toward the nearest door, room 5, and fumbled with the handle. Locked. He tried the next one. Also locked. His panic grew with each failed attempt, until finally, a door clicked open. Hands reached out and yanked him inside. Daniel almost screamed, but a cold hand clamped over his mouth. "Quiet," a voice hissed. The woman from the bar. Her face was pale in the dim light, her dark eyes glinting with urgency. She shut the door quickly, leaving them in near darkness, save for a single lamp glowing weakly on the dresser. "You shouldn't have gone wandering," she whispered. "The hallways shift at night. They don't like it when you try to leave." Daniel shoved her hand away, his chest heaving. What the hell is happening here? This place, these hallways, they don't make sense. "They're not meant to," she said. "The Ashford is alive. It keeps you in place. Always." Daniel shook his head violently. No. No, I don't believe that. A building can't." "It's not a building," she interrupted sharply. "It's a trap. And you keep walking straight into it." Daniel paced, running both hands through his hair. "You said earlier I've been here before. That I forget. That can't be true." She leaned against the wall, watching him with sorrowful eyes. "Do you remember 2008? Daniel froze. The suitcase. The ledger. The newspaper. "Barely," he admitted. "You stayed here," she said. "That year. I was here, too. You tried to help me escape. But you failed. We both failed. And then it started over." His throat tightened. "You're saying I've been repeating this? For how long?" "I don't know. Time doesn't move here the way it does outside. Days blur. Years mean nothing." She lowered her voice. "I've been trapped longer than I can measure. But I remember every cycle. You don't. The Ashford takes your memories after each reset. wipes you clean, so you'll never realize how long you've been a guest. Daniel sat heavily on the bed, his legs trembling. Why me? Her silence stretched long. Then she said, because you chose to forget. You made a bargain. Daniel shot her a sharp look. What bargain? I don't know the details, she said. But I've heard whispers. Some of us traded something to stay here. To hide from the outside. Maybe you were one of them. No, Daniel said firmly. I would never choose this. Her gaze didn't soften. Wouldn't you? A deep creak echoed through the walls, like the groan of an old ship. Daniel froze. They're listening, she whispered. Who's listening? The staff. The guests. This whole place. You can't trust them. Not the bellhop. Not the bartender. Not even the ones sitting by the fire. Daniel thought of the lobby, those unmoving figures by the fireplace, their eyes blank. His stomach churned. What are they? Remnants, she said. People who stayed too long. They've been hollowed out. Now they're part of the hotel itself. That's what happens if you don't leave by the third night. Daniel's skin prickled cold. What happens if I leave before then? You can't. You've already tried. Many times. He stared at her. Then what am I supposed to do? She leaned close, her whisper sharp as a blade. You have to break the cycle. That means confronting whoever, or whatever, is in charge. The manager. Daniel blinked. The manager? Her face hardened. Don't say the name too loud. He runs the Ashford. He decides who stays. And once he notices you. Her words trailed off. What? Daniel pressed. She shivered. Then you'll never leave. The lamp flickered. A faint knock rattled the door. Daniel tensed, eyes darting toward the handle. Who is it? No answer. Just another knock. Louder this time. The woman's face drained of color. She grabbed his arm. Don't open it. The knocking grew into pounding. The doorframe shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Daniel staggered back, clutching the edge of the dresser. They're going to break it down. She shoved him toward the closet. Hide. Now. The pounding stopped abruptly. Silence. Then, in a deep, distorted voice, Mr. Whitaker, your room is waiting. Daniel's blood ran cold. The doorknob rattled. Slowly, it began to turn. Someone, or something, outside the room is calling Daniel by name, trying to get in. The doorknob twisted. Daniel's chest tightened as he pressed himself into the closet, the woman slamming the door shut behind him. He crouched in the darkness, breath shallow, heart hammering. The pounding stopped. Silence stretched. Then, the sound of footsteps retreating down the hallway. Slow, deliberate. The woman exhaled shakily and opened the closet. We're safe. For now. Daniel stumbled out, drenched in sweat. What was that? Who the hell? The hotel, she whispered. Testing you. Reminding you that you belong here. Daniel shook his head furiously. I don't belong here. I don't even know why I'm here. Her dark eyes softened with pity. You'll remember. You always do. But by the time you do, she trailed off. Daniel grabbed her wrist, desperation in his voice. Then tell me how to get out. There has to be a way. Her lips tightened. There is one. But it's dangerous. If they catch you, you'll wish you hadn't tried. Tell me. Her gaze flicked toward the wall, as if the hotel itself might hear. There's a wing. East corridor. The staff keeps it locked. That's where they keep what they don't want guests to see. If there's any chance of escape, it's there. Daniel swallowed hard. The forbidden wing. She nodded. But you must be careful. If you enter, the Ashford will know. And it will try to stop you. Later that night, Daniel crept down the hall alone. The hotel was eerily still. The chandeliers flickered faintly, and shadows stretched unnaturally across the floor. He moved past the grand staircase, past the silent guests by the fire, and toward a side corridor. At the end stood a tall set of double doors. Heavy oak, bound with iron, a brass plaque above them reading East Wing, staff only. A large keyhole glinted in the lock. Daniel tugged at the handles. Locked tight. His mind raced. How could he get inside? He needed a key. The front desk. He returned to the lobby, forcing himself to walk casually. The woman in the navy dress was gone. Behind the desk sat a single leather-bound ledger. Beside it, a ring of keys. Daniel's pulse thundered as he glanced around. The lobby was empty except for the motionless guests at the fire. He reached over the counter, fingers trembling, and slipped the keys into his pocket. Looking for something, Mr. Whitaker? Daniel froze. The bartender stood in the doorway, polishing a glass. His smile was too wide, too knowing. I couldn't sleep, Daniel stammered. The bartender's eyes flit to his pocket. Then back to his face. Of course, he said softly. It's always hard to rest your first night back. Daniel forced a smile and hurried past him. Back at the East Wing doors, Daniel fumbled with the keys. The third one slid into the lock with a satisfying click. The doors groaned open. A rush of cold air spilled out, carrying the smell of dust, mildew, and something else, something metallic. Daniel stepped inside. The corridor was long and dark, lined with doors. Some were cracked open, revealing glimpses of abandoned rooms. Dusty beds. Broken chairs. Suitcases stacked like forgotten relics. He stepped into one. A journal lay open on the desk, the ink faded but legible. He skimmed the first page. June 2008. I don't remember checking in. They say I've been here before. They're lying. I have to get out. Daniel's breath caught. The handwriting was his own. He flipped further. Second night. Hallway shifting. The woman says I've been here dozens of times. I don't believe her. Tomorrow I'll find the manager and demand answers. His hands shook as he reached the last page. Third night. I can't remember what's real anymore. If I don't write this down, I'll lose everything. The hotel will make me forget. If you're reading this, Daniel, you've already started over again. Daniel's vision blurred. The words swam before his eyes. He dropped the journal, his heart pounding like a war drum. No, he whispered. No, this isn't possible. He staggered back into the hallway. More rooms. More journals. More suitcases, each one tagged Daniel Whitaker. Rows of his belongings, stretching down the forbidden wing. Proof of countless stays. Proof that he had never truly left. Suddenly, the corridor lights snapped on. At the far end, a shadow shifted. A man stood there. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Dressed in a black suit. His face was obscured by shadow, but Daniel felt the weight of his gaze. The man spoke in a low, resonant voice. Mr. Whitaker, wandering again? Daniel's blood ran cold. The manager. Daniel comes face to face with the shadowy figure of the manager in the forbidden East Wing. Daniel froze. The manager's silhouette filled the hallway, cutting off his only exit. Shadows pooled around his shoes, bleeding into the walls like ink spreading through water. Daniel tried to speak but his throat locked tight. The manager's voice carried smoothly, like velvet hiding steel. "You've wandered far enough. Guests are not permitted in this wing." Daniel's hands clenched at his sides. "What is this place? Why are there journals? My things?" The manager stepped forward, and the flickering light caught his face. It was perfect. Too perfect. His skin smooth, his features symmetrical in a way that was wrong. Like a mannequin wearing human skin. His eyes, however, were ancient, black pits that seemed to stretch forever. "This is your home, Mr. Whitaker," the manager said gently. "It always has been." Daniel shook his head violently. "No. I don't live here." He stopped. His memory was a blur. Snippets of an apartment. A job. A car. But the details slid through his mind like oil on glass. "What was your address?" the manager asked suddenly, tilting his head. "Your phone number? Your mother's name?" Daniel's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The manager smiled. "You see? You belong here." Daniel staggered back into one of the rooms, snatching up a journal. He thrust it toward the manager. "Then explain this. Why do I keep writing these? Why don't I remember?" The manager glanced at the book with mild interest. "You insisted, at first. Clinging to the illusion of choice. But memory is a burden, Mr. Whitaker. The Ashford is merciful. It spares you the pain." Daniel's voice cracked. "Merciful? You're trapping me in a nightmare." "Nightmares end," the manager replied softly. "This does not. That is its gift." Daniel bolted down the corridor, past the endless doors, journals, and suitcases. His footsteps echoed like gunshots. The hallway bent in strange ways, twisting at angles that shouldn't exist. Every turn led to more doors, more fragments of his past lives. And always, the manager's footsteps behind him. Unhurried. Inevitable. Finally, Daniel stumbled into a large door at the corridor's end. His stolen key slid in, and the lock turned. He shoved it open and burst inside. And froze. The room was vast, filled with mirrors. Dozens of tall, gilded mirrors stretching from floor to ceiling. Each one reflected not only him, but versions of him. Daniel saw himself younger. Older. Wearing different clothes. Hair longer, shorter, grayer. 100 lives condensed into glass. And in every reflection, one detail was the same. His eyes, wide, panicked, staring into the abyss. From behind him, the manager's voice reverberated in the mirrored chamber. "This is the truth. You have always been here. You will always be here. The Ashford keeps you. It loves you. That is why it calls you back." Daniel spun, his voice ragged. "No. There has to be a way out. I don't care what you say, there has to be." The manager's reflection filled every mirror at once, multiplying until Daniel was surrounded. Each image smiled with that same hollow perfection. "There is no out," they all said in unison. "Only return." Daniel clutched his head, shaking violently. The whispers filled the chamber, voices pouring from the mirrors, his own voice, repeating phrases from the journals. "You've been here before. You never left. You'll forget again." The sound rose to a deafening roar. Daniel slammed his fists against a mirror. It cracked but did not shatter. His reflection bled, but he did not. And then, he saw something. Behind one of the reflections, faint and flickering, was a door. Not a mirror at all. His chest tightened. A chance. He staggered toward it, pushing past his own faces, ignoring their whispers. His hand stretched out. And the manager's hand clamped down on his shoulder. "You don't want to do that," Mr. Whitaker," the manager said softly. "You'll only come back." Daniel turned, trembling. "Then I'll keep leaving. As many times as it takes." The manager's smile widened. For the first time, his perfect face cracked at the edges, revealing something dark beneath. "Then you'll break yourself before you break the Ashford." Daniel has found what looks like a hidden exit door in the mirror chamber, but the manager has caught him. Daniel's hand shook on the doorknob as the manager's grip tightened on his shoulder. The door pulsed faintly, as though it were alive, its outline flickering in and out between mirror and wood. A faint breeze whispered from the cracks, carrying the scent of pine trees and rain. Outside. The manager leaned close, his voice curling into Daniel's ear. "Step through, if you wish. But know this, every door leads back here." Daniel yanked free of his grasp and shoved the door open. Blinding light poured through, searing his eyes. He stumbled forward, tumbling into the glow, and collapsed onto wet asphalt. Rain lashed down around him. He was lying in the middle of a deserted road, headlights blazing toward him. A horn blared. Daniel scrambled out of the way just as a car skidded past. His chest heaved. He was outside. Really outside. The Ashford Hotel loomed in the distance, its silhouette black against the storm. He could see it. He wasn't trapped inside. He staggered down the road, soaked and trembling. "I did it," he whispered. "I'm out." But then, a voice drifted on the wind. Soft. Familiar. "Mr. Whitaker, check-in is at 3. Daniel spun. No one was there. His teeth chattered as he kept walking. He needed a town, a phone, something. But the road twisted endlessly, the storm unrelenting. Finally, through the sheets of rain, he spotted a gas station. A flickering neon sign buzzed above it. Hope surged through him. He pushed the door open. The bell chimed. Inside, the attendant stood behind the counter. His head lifted slowly, and Daniel's stomach dropped. It was the manager. Only, not quite. His face was softer, his features slightly altered, but the eyes, those endless black pits, were the same. "Long trip, Mr. Whitaker?" the attendant asked casually, sliding a guest book across the counter. The pages fluttered open. Every line bore Daniel's signature. Over and over. Thousands of them. Daniel stumbled back. No, this isn't real." The attendant tilted his head. "Real? You misunderstand. The Ashford is all there is. Roads, towns, people, it's all antechamber. You always come back." Daniel slammed his fists on the counter. "Why me? What do you want from me?" The attendant's smile was faint. "Want? We are not want. We are keep. And you are ours." The floor lurched. Shells shivered, cans clattering to the ground. The fluorescent lights flickered. And then Daniel saw it, through the rain-streaked windows. The gas station wasn't a gas station anymore. The shape of the Ashford Hotel rose up around it, swallowing it whole. The neon sign twisted into the gold cursive letters of the Ashford. The bell over the door chimed again. But instead of a stranger entering, it was him. Another Daniel. Soaked, terrified, eyes darting. The same moment, looping again. Daniel stared at himself. His other self stared back. And then that version walked past him, straight to the counter, where the attendant greeted him as though nothing unusual was happening. "Welcome back, Mr. Whitaker." "Checking in?" Daniel staggered, clutching his skull. He could feel it happening, the cycle resetting, his memories blurring at the edges. His name slipping away like sand through a sieve. "No," he whispered. "Not again. I won't forget again." But already, the journals flickered in his mind. The signatures. The whispers. You'll forget. You'll forget. You'll forget. And when Daniel looked up, he was standing in the hotel lobby again. The same chandelier. The same staff. The same smell of lavender and dust. Behind the desk, the manager looked up, smiling warmly. "Ah. Welcome back, Mr. Whitaker. We've been expecting you." Daniel escapes the hotel, only to realize the outside world is just another layer of the Ashford's trap. He's back in the lobby again, the loop tightening around him. Daniel stood in the lobby, his heart slamming against his ribs. The chandelier above him swayed gently, casting warped shadows across the walls. The manager folded his hands on the desk, smiling. "You look unsettled, Mr. Whitaker. Perhaps a warm drink would help?" Daniel shook his head violently. "No. I know what you're doing. I saw it. I saw me. Over and over again." The manager tilted his head, eyes glittering with something close to amusement. "Ah. The cracks are widening faster than usual. Interesting." Daniel clenched his fists. "Tell me what this place is. Tell me why you keep dragging me back." The manager stood, adjusting his immaculate tie. His smile dimmed into something heavier. "Very well. You deserve at least a fragment of truth." He gestured toward the dining hall doors. "Come." Daniel followed reluctantly. The hall was empty, silent, until the manager snapped his fingers. Every chair filled at once. Dozens of guests appeared as though they had always been there, forks scraping on plates, glasses clinking, voices murmuring. The sound was overwhelming, like stepping into a crowd that had been waiting in silence until the instant he arrived. Daniel's eyes darted. Faces blurred in and out, some familiar, some impossibly strange. People dressed from different decades, different centuries, yet all smiling politely, eating food that never seemed to vanish from their plates. "Who are they?" Daniel whispered. The manager's eyes flicked toward him. "Guests. Just like you. Some accepted their stay. Others fought it. But in time, all become part of the fabric of the Ashford." Daniel's stomach dropped. "You mean, they're trapped? Like me?" The manager gave a soft chuckle. "Trapped? Oh no. No, Mr. Whitaker. They are preserved. This place saves what the world would otherwise discard." Daniel stared at the guests. Their smiles seemed too wide. Their laughter too rehearsed. And then he noticed, some of them had the same face. His face. Dozens of Daniels, scattered among the tables, lifting glasses, sharing conversations. None looked his way. Daniel stumbled back, his throat closing. No, that's impossible." The manager's voice was calm. "Each time you return, a version of you remains behind. A piece of the puzzle. That is the price of staying here." Daniel shook his head. "I never chose this." The manager's smile thinned. "But you did. You walked through the doors once. You signed the book. And the Ashford remembers." Daniel's vision blurred. His legs trembled. He turned to run, but the dining hall doors slammed shut. When he spun back, the guests were no longer eating. They were all staring at him. Every single one. Dozens of Daniels, eyes fixed on him, expressions blank and unreadable. One of them stood. His movements matched Daniel's exactly, like a reflection breaking free from glass. He walked forward, stopping inches away. Daniel looked into his own face, eyes dark, lips curling into a grim smile. The duplicate whispered, "We're waiting for you." And then all the Daniels whispered in unison. "Waiting, waiting, waiting." The sound swelled, filling the air like a hive of bees, vibrating Daniel's skull. He clutched his ears, falling to his knees. The manager crouched beside him, his voice cutting clean through the noise. "You ask what powers this place? You do. Every guest, every soul, every memory fuels the Ashford. Without you, it withers. With you, it thrives. And you, Mr. Whitaker." He leaned closer, his black eyes reflecting Daniel's trembling face. "You are one of our most loyal patrons." The whispering stopped. The room was silent again. The guests returned to their meals as though nothing had happened. Daniel's breath hitched. His body shook. If he couldn't escape, if he couldn't fight, what was left? Daniel discovers the truth: every version of himself that has ever stayed is still inside the hotel, powering it, waiting for him to join permanently. Daniel's pulse hammered in his ears as the manager's words echoed, "You are one of our most loyal patrons." He forced himself to stand, though his legs trembled. "No. I won't stay. I don't care what this place is, I'm leaving. For good." The manager tilted his head, calm as ever. "Leaving? You've said that before." His smile widened, teeth sharp in the dim light. "And yet, here you are." Daniel didn't reply. He bolted through the hall, pushing past guests who didn't seem to notice him, their laughter resuming as if nothing had been interrupted. He shoved open the far doors and found himself back in the endless corridor of rooms. He slammed them shut behind him. The noise of the dining hall vanished instantly. The corridor stretched on, impossible, lined with numbered doors. Each one whispered softly, as though beckoning him closer. The wallpaper pulsed faintly like veins under skin. Daniel pressed his hands against his head. "Think. There has to be a way. There has to." His eyes fell on the book he'd seen earlier at the front desk, the guest ledger. He remembered the manager's words, "You signed the book." Maybe if he tore his name out. He sprinted back toward the lobby. The hallway twisted in ways that made no sense, doors shifting, lights flickering, but eventually he burst through and saw the ledger sitting neatly on the desk. He grabbed it. The leather was hot, almost burning his palms. Pages fluttered as though alive, opening themselves to reveal names scrawled in every language imaginable. Some had dates centuries old. Then he saw it, Daniel Whitaker. Not once. Not twice. Hundreds of times. Page after page filled with his name in the same neat hand, each entry identical, stretching into infinity. "No," he whispered. His throat tightened. He tore at the pages, ripping them out, scattering them across the floor. But the book repaired itself instantly, pages regrowing like flesh, his name reappearing again and again. The manager's voice slid across the air, though Daniel couldn't see him. "Do you know why it never works, Mr. Whitaker? Because you're not just written in the book. You are written into the walls." Daniel screamed in frustration, hurling the ledger across the lobby. It thudded against the far wall and fell open, glowing faintly. He turned toward the glass doors, the only possible way out. With a desperate cry, he sprinted. The glass shimmered as he slammed against it, and instead of shattering, it rippled like water. His body pushed through, cold and thick around him, dragging at his every movement. He forced himself forward, lungs burning. On the other side, he glimpsed outside. Night air, streetlights, the faint glow of a world that wasn't the Ashford. He pushed harder, harder, until hands seized him from behind. Dozens of them. Hands identical to his own, reaching from the glass, pulling, clawing, dragging him back. Daniel screamed, thrashing, but the duplicates were stronger, whispering all around him. "Stay. Stay. Stay." His reflection in the glass grinned. "You never leave." Daniel kicked and twisted, his nails raking across the slick surface. His hand brushed something, a crack, faint but real, spiderwebbing across the door where he had pressed hardest. The manager's voice thundered, no longer calm but furious. "Stop! Daniel shoved his fist into the crack. Pain exploded through his knuckles, but the fracture widened. Light poured in, blinding, hot. The reflection screamed. The glass splintered. And then, darkness. Silence. Daniel opened his eyes. He was standing in the middle of a quiet street. The Ashford Hotel loomed behind him, its windows dark, no sign of life. He gasped for air, clutching his bleeding hand. His body trembled, but he was outside. He was free. Or so it seemed. Because when he turned his head, across the street, there was another building. Another hotel. Identical in every detail. Its sign glowing faintly. Ashford Hotel. Vacancy always. Daniel escapes, only to discover the Ashford exists everywhere, duplicating itself, impossible to outrun. Daniel staggered back from the glowing sign. His heart pounded in his chest like it wanted to break free. 2 hotels? He rubbed his eyes, but the second Ashford remained across the street, identical in every detail, the same velvet curtains, the same brass lettering, the same impossible vacancy always sign that pulsed like a heartbeat. The street between them was empty, dead silent. Not a car. Not a sound. Just him, and 2 hotels staring each other down like mirrors. Daniel whispered, "No. No, I made it out. I did." The ground shifted under his feet. A dull hum vibrated through the asphalt. The second Ashford's doors creaked open slowly, like jaws. From the lobby beyond, he heard the faintest sound, the tinkling of piano keys. The same melody that had followed him since the beginning. Daniel stumbled backward, clutching his bleeding hand. "Stay away from me. I don't belong to you." That's when he noticed something across the glass of the first Ashford, the one he had just escaped. His reflection. But it wasn't matching his movements. It stood there calmly in the hotel's doorway, smiling. Not bleeding. Not panicked. Not broken. The reflection lifted a hand and waved him forward. And then, it spoke. Though its lips didn't move, Daniel heard the voice, smooth and familiar. "You've done this before." Daniel froze. "What?" The reflection stepped forward, pressing its hand against the glass. Its smile widened. "You've run before. You've broken the glass. You've seen the second Ashford. Every time, you think you've escaped. And every time, the glass doors open by themselves, swallowing the reflection into the street. You come back." Daniel's legs buckled. The world spun. The hum grew louder, vibrating his bones. "No. I'm out. I got out. This is real. This is real." The reflection, his double, stood only a few feet away now, its face identical except for the eyes. Where Daniel's were wide with terror, the double's were calm. "Certain. You're not a guest here, Daniel," it whispered. "You never were." Daniel's breath hitched. "Then what am I?" The double leaned in close, its breath cold against his ear. "You are the hotel." The street crumbled beneath him. The buildings collapsed inward, folding like paper. The 2 Ashfords stretched taller, wider, their walls pulsing like lungs, their windows glowing like eyes. Daniel screamed as his body dissolved into the humming floor, into the trembling walls. He felt himself spreading, his skin becoming wallpaper, his veins turning into hallways, his heartbeat syncing with the piano's endless melody. He was the endless corridor. The whispering rooms. The glass that wouldn't break. Memories rushed back in shards, every guest who had walked through his doors. Every signature in the ledger. Every terrified scream. And then, nothing but silence. When Daniel opened his eyes, he was back at the front desk. The ledger sat before him, open to a fresh page. The pen moved on its own, writing in neat, flowing script. "Welcome back, Mr. Whitaker." The lobby doors creaked open, and a figure stepped inside, a man looking confused, suitcase in hand. He blinked, glancing around. "Hello? I think I've been here before." Daniel smiled, though his lips no longer felt like his own. "Yes," he heard himself say, his voice smooth, practiced, welcoming. "You never really leave the Ashford." Daniel was never a guest trapped in the hotel. He is the hotel, the reason the Ashford calls people back. Each time he escaped, it was only the illusion of another cycle resetting. The truth was hidden until the very end. He is both prisoner and captor, forever luring new guests into the endless loop.